Massive shields, great damage on a 1-bar magicka sorcerer? What is going on? Hey guys, it's Dan, and welcome back to Unified Gaming. So in this one, I'm going to share with you my 1-bar PvP magicka sorcerer build for the current patch. This thing is a lot of fun. It has huge shields as you can see, great damage and mobility, and just everything you need on a 1-bar build. As always, I'm going to go through the skills, the gear, everything you need to know so you can make this yourself. But a quick TLDR, this does use Oakensoul. That means you need High Isle and Greymore to make this if you want to have Oakensoul. If you don't have those chapters, you can get ESO Plus that will give you access to these as well. It is really worth it in my opinion, and it is a crux of the build. If you like what I do here, then do leave a like, and if you get any questions, let me know down below. And as always, a massive thanks to everybody that is subscribed to see future content, and a bigger thanks to everyone over at Patreon who help make these videos possible. If you want to support myself, there's details down below. So what are we doing? For our race, we are a Dark Elf. Dark Elf gives us magicka and stamina. It makes us more resistance to fire damage, which is great being a vampire. And we get weapon and spell damage. If you're not a Dark Elf, however, you could use Breton, you could use High Elf, you could use Argonian, you could use Imperial. Those are really good options. If you don't have any of those races though, just use whatever you have. It's not going to make or break the build. It helps, but it's not going to break it. As with our attributes, we have 48 points in magicka and 16 in health. We aim for around 30,000 health. This gives us a really good buffer, so we can have a good amount of health under our shield. So if our shield goes off, we've got loads of health to stay alive. It really helps. We will aim for around 1900 regen. If you need more, you can change the food to get even more regen should you wish. And for the resistances, although they are a bit low, we are a vampire with stage 3, which is like having Mark of the Prior, which is one of the best defensive sets in the game. Being a vampire is a must in my opinion for this build. For our Mundus Stone, I am using the Atronach. This is a great Mundus, it gives you more regen and is well worth using. As with our food, I'm using Bewitched Sugar Skulls. This is a tri-stat food that gives us health, magic and stamina. The health regen isn't really useful as we are a vampire, but the tri-stats are really good. As I said earlier, if you did want to go and have more regen, so move from sort of 1900 to even higher, because you might be new for example, you could use Citrus Fillet. This is gold food, it gives you health, max magicka and magicka recovery, which is really good. This will give you 2,400 health, magicka recovery, you get 28,000 health, almost 29, and almost 40,000 magicka, so loads and loads of stats. The other option you can do with using this food is rather than going with the extra regen, you could change to get more shields. Go with the mage, which will give you an even bigger shield. That also helps our damage as well, because max resource does increase damage. Or you could go for even more damage and go with the lover for the maximum amount of damage. I personally, however, I do prefer using Sugar Skulls and using the Atronach Mundus because it's cheaper to run in game and you get very similar effects. If you don't have access to either of those gold foods, there are purple versions around, like Witch Mother's Potent Brew and like Long Thin Pastry. Those are purple foods that do the same thing. One's regen, Witch Mother's, and one is max stats Long Thin. As for our potions, I use tri-stat potions on all my builds in all honesty. It covers everything you need, health, magicka, stamina. Something's low, pop one of these, you're back ready to go in the fight again. You can also use this as a mini heal, which is really helpful, especially if you pair this with the Twilight. Push the potion, roll dodge, push the heal, you're almost at full health. It's really good to bounce back if you're low on health. You could use more specialized potions such as Essence of Movability, but they are very expensive. You might also notice that my gold on this character is ridiculously high, and there's like all gold gear and stuff. I'm recording this part on the PTS because I don't actually have that much gold in game, so everything you see in the footage of the gameplay is all purple gear with a gold weapon. Everything else is purple, as I said. Over here, I've done it all gold so you can see it min-maxed, so you know exactly what you'll get if you upgrade everything. I just can't afford to do that. So if you want to support, you know, there's details down below, as I've said already. As with our skills, what are we doing here? With being a 1-bar build, we have 5 skills and an ultimate. So we need to have a spammable, we need a burst skill, we need a shield or some kind of burst heal, and you need a movement skill. And then there's our burst heal there. So to cover everything we need, we've gone with Crystal Fragments. This is our spammable. And if we hardcast this, it can double proc, giving us even more just damage, which is great. We have Haunting Curse, which is a delayed burst skill. We have Hardened Ward, which is kind of a pseudo heal. You can put this on before a fight, you can put this on mid-fight, it's really good. And when you're fully buffed up and stuff, it's around about 20,000 tooltip in PvE, so 10k in PvP. Really, really good. I then use Streak. This gives us a bit of damage and a stun. And then we have Twilight as our burst heal should things go wrong. We then have a Power Overload, which gives us really good light attack damage, which really helps get people low really quick. You might notice we lack an Execute, and if you want to change any of these skills, you can do that. You can go down to Storm Calling and run Endless Fury. If you did this, I would suggest dropping maybe the shield if you're in a match where damage isn't too high, or you're in Cyrodiil and you can kind of cope with that shield and just roll dodge a lot and streak. Or you could drop Haunting Curse, which is probably what I'd go with personally. So if you want to drop, drop Haunting Curse or the Hardened Ward. I would recommend keeping Streak, keeping the Twilight, and keeping Crystal Frags. Now, you might be somebody who goes, Dan, I don't want to be spamming Crystal Frags and look like a new player. That's understandable. It can be interrupted, so you might want to change this to a different spammable and go down to Crushing Shock from the Destruction Staff. This can interrupt people, it's really good, it sets them off balance, which means you can medium weave the stun and all that stuff. It's just really, really good. You could go down to Sigic Order, which does need a DLC sadly, and you can use Elemental Weapon, which when you light attack, you just do extra damage and you put a status on them, so it's pretty good. I personally don't like this. I would use Crushing Shock personally. If it's me though, I would go with Dark Crystal Fragments for a few reasons. It hits harder. When you cast it, it gives you bonus damage if you get the free proc, so you get even more damage. It's an instant cast. Your next skills are cheaper to use. You proc Unholy Blood Magic, which heals you, so it becomes like a mini heal over time, which is really good if you're spamming this. So this is really, really good. The downside though is it can be interrupted if people are using Crushing Shock, so you may need to change this if you're in a match that people do that. But those are the skills, and just a quick kind of how the double frag proc works is when I cast frags, it has a chance to give me an extra cast for free. So you will see at the bottom that my frags haven't given it yet, but it will glow purple when it does. And it is pure RNG sadly. So there's that proc there. When that procs, you can push it again and it shoots instantly, which means you can do Crystal Frag, get the proc, and then roll dodge, and it shoots 2 frags at once almost. Like that. So you can see I shot 2 frags really fast. It is very, very effective. And you'll see in a lot of the gameplay, I do this an awful lot to just get extra damage out really, really quick. One important thing to remember with the skills is if your Twilight does get killed, you do not have a heal. So you need to resummon this if this dies. So just really, really be mindful of that. And that's why we have Streak to get away if we need to. Roll dodge, streak, shield. That will keep you alive. And then get the Twilight up and heal. Or use your potion. Or do both if you can. Now, I'm going to go through the CP quickly before the gear. For the champion points, I've actually put them off here. But if you want to use CP in Cyrodiil and stuff, I would use Master at Arms. I would use Deadly Aim. I'd use Ironclad and Arcane Supremacy. Arcane Supremacy gives you more magicka, bigger shields. Ironclad makes you tankier. Deadly Aim increases single target damage. Master Arms increases direct damage, so that increases all of our damage these do. We're a bit tankier and we have bigger shields and do a bit more damage. For the red ones, I'd recommend Celerity for just maximum speed. I'd recommend Bastion. This gives you bigger shields and you do more damage against shielded people. Pain's Refuge is really good. Just makes you much tankier. And then Sustained by Suffering, this gives you much more regen if you have a debuff on you, which in PvP is all the time. And then for the green ones, I would recommend using Steve's Blessing, Liquid Efficiency, and Rationer. This makes food and stuff last longer, saves you money. Liquid Efficiency saves you potions, because they can be free sometimes, saves you money. Steve's Blessing makes you move around quickly if you're out of combat. And then the fourth one, you can use whatever you like. Good ones are things like Gifted Rider or even War Mounts if you're in Cyrodiil to move around for free. Really good CP star here. But that's the CP and what I'll do for those. The last thing now is the gear and what we're running on the sets. And as always, I'm going to go through and break it down fully with the pieces, then the traits, then everything else in the middle. If you do like this video though, before we do that, then do leave a like and do leave a comment. It really, really helps. It tells YouTube, it tells me you want to see more ESO content and more builds like this. And if you haven't done so, make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss out on future content. And as always, a massive thanks to everyone over at Patreon who helps make these videos possible. If you want to support myself there or in game, there's details down below. So what are we doing with our sets? I'm using Ancient Grace ×3, Engine Guardian ×2, Trainee ×1, Crafty Elfic ×5 with Oakensall. This can be loaded up in however you like, in all honesty, but if you want to min-max it like this is here, then this is what I would recommend doing. For the Ancient Grace, you want a staff, you want it sharpened, and you can use Absorb Magicka, or you can use Double Dot Poisons. Those are the options, really, really good. For the Engine Guardian, you want a medium helmet ideally, and a light shoulders. Impen on both of them if you can, and you want Tri-Stat on the head, and then Magicka on the shoulders. For the chest, you want to have Trainee Heavy Armor, so you might need to reconstruct this or find a special piece. There is a named piece that has this. This gives you more resistances this way, and you get 5 light, 1 medium, 1 heavy for more undaunted and more max stats. So that's why we've gone this way round. You then go with Crafty Elfic on the rest of it, and then 1 Crafty Elfic ring. With the small pieces, it is just Magicka, so shoulders and waist and legs, hands and feet, sorry, are Magicka. The legs, the chest, and the heads are Tri-Stat. For the traits, you want 4 impenetrable and 3 well fitted. It doesn't matter which order they are, but as long as you've got 4 well fitted, 3 impenetrable, or the other way around, you will be okay. Having one or the other the wrong way is not going to make a big difference. For the jewelry, you want all arcane, and you want all Magicka recovery. If you are after a bit more damage, you can change these glyphs to damage, or you can change the traits. In the transmute station, if you went across to the jewelry, you could go with things like Bloodthirsty. This will give you the most amount of damage. Or you could go with Infused and then go with spell damage to get a bit of extra healing on the Twilight. But I personally would just leave it as arcane if you did that. So it's really Bloodthirsty if you want. If you want more resistances, you can go protective across to 3. It'll give you an extra 3,000 roughly, which is okay. Or you can go swift, which is really good for just moving really quick. It's essentially 21% more speed if you stack this. So those are the options, what you can do with the traits on the jewelry. But that there, guys, is the build. I've tried to go through everything you need to know. If you do get questions, though, let me know down below. And just a quick thing before I forget. I have mentioned this in passing, but we are a vampire. And we are stage 3 for access to Undeath. This makes us tanky, and it is a must for this build. So I would highly recommend it. Do not go to stage 4 because you lose health recovery and you then have to manually heal yourself, which is really frustrating and it's just not worth doing. But that is the build in the whole. If you get any questions, as I said, let me know down below. And if you like what I do here, then do like, do comment, and make sure that you do subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. And as always, a massive, massive thank you to everyone at Patreon who help makes these videos possible. But I'll catch you in the next one. So thanks for watching, guys. Take care. And bye!